All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome. So today we're going to be focusing on factoring again. This is lesson 8.6, and we're going to be factoring out quadratic trinomials. Now, when we're factoring these out, these are just with the a value of 1, and I'll show you what that means in a little bit. Here's the essential question, but you guys know I've actually changed it to a problem, and I'll show you that problem as we go along. It's the last problem for the day. Homework is on Alex, and there's 24 topics, not 4, due by Sunday. So what we're going to focus on now is using and figuring out the quadratics of this. We have been dealing with it over the course of the last couple of days. We've been dealing with two binomials, okay? And if you guys remember, we took those binomials and we multiplied them out. Hence why they have an example here, okay? So this example that's sitting right here, where it'd be x plus 2, and then you would go x plus 4. If you guys remember, we would use that's the worst Punnett square I've ever seen in my life. We would use the Punnett square technique, or you could use the FOIL method. You go x2, x4, and then we would fill these out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on creating these 4 terms right here. We're going to create those by using a technique that we're going to be dealing with. It's called the X method, right? It's a pretty simple technique. You just have to know how to use it, and then you guys will be pretty successful going forward. The struggle that some of you will have is if you don't know your multiplication tables. Like we've talked about in the past, if you don't know your multiplication tables, this might be a little bit of a challenge. So you probably want to find a sheet online to print out those multiplication tables for you, and then you guys will be successful after that. Because this is what we're going to do. First, we're going to identify our a, b, and c values. Okay, so standard form equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we're looking for the a, the b, and the c. So it's the number in front of x squared, which in this case is 1. This would be b, which is 7, and this would be c, which is 12. Okay, simple setups. All right, same thing here. I'm going to blow right through this. A, b, c. So the a on this one is 1. The b value is not bx. Okay, it's the letter in front, so it's 9x. So it'll be 9, c is 20. And then for the last one here, I want you guys to write out A, B, C. Again, it's the number 1 that's in front, 17, and finally 42. So how this works is it's a relatively simple idea. We're going to be drawing out a giant X like this for all 3 of these problems. And what you're doing is you're going to have, so on your notes, probably on the left-hand margin, you know I guys give you the Cornell-style notes. So over here, I would want you to write the following, okay? Where it's a times c and b. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to find the a and the c value, which we already have. We're going to place those on top. So we're going to multiply a times c, and then the b value goes underneath. And how it works is for these 2 values, we're going to find it is when you multiply them together. Ooh, I spelled that wrong. When you multiply them together, let me. You get a C, and when you add, you get B. All right, so what that means is, what 2 numbers can we multiply together to get A and C, and when you add them, you get the letter B. Now I'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right, so first off, it's 12 times 1. That goes up here, because that's the A and the C, so it's just 12. And then down here is 7. Okay, so what you have to think about is what 2 numbers multiply together to make the number 12. All right, we have multitudes of them. We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Okay, those are the 3. And when you add them together, they make 7. So if you guys were to go backwards, you go 1 and 12, 1 plus 12 is 13. 2 and 6, 2 and 6 is 8. 3 and 4, 3 plus 4 is 7. So my values here are 3 and 4. And then what you do is, these are all positive numbers because it's all plus signs. So what you do is you take your value, you go x plus, then you go x plus again. And what you do is, this value gets plugged down in here, this one gets plugged down in here. So my answer is x plus 3 and x plus 4. Now let's check it real quick. All right, I'm only going to check this one time, just so you guys know what I'm doing. All right, so if I say it's x and 3, and x and 4, I'd get x squared, 4x, 3x, and 12. X squared, add these together, because you remember when you do the Punnett square, you would add these two terms together. 3 and 4 is 7, and then 12. So see, it works perfectly. Right, so hopefully you guys understand. What we're looking for here is what two numbers multiply together to make this. When you add them, make this. All right, so on here, 20 and 9, right? So it's 20 and 9, the setup. Now, what two numbers multiply together to make 20, but when you add them, make 9, right? So that would be 1 and 20 is not x, that's 21. What else we got? 2 and 10, that's 12. 4 and 5. Hey. Does it matter which one goes here? Nope, not when they're both positive. So my answer ends up being x plus 5. So ladies and gentlemen, this is just a quick way to factor some things out. It's easier when you're doing it like this and when you're doing these same values, all right? 42 and 17. And then this would be, what two numbers would you add together? So this is going to be x again. So it's x plus something. All right, x plus again. All right, now here's the problem. Some of you may not know all your multiplication tables. I surely didn't, especially when it comes down to the smaller numbers. The only number that I know of 42 would be like 6 and 7, right? 7 times 6 is 42, but that would be 13 when you add those together. So you got to go backwards. So we'll start with 2, all right? 2 and, if I divide 2 in there, that'd be 21, so that'd be 23. 3, does 3 go into 42? So this is where some of you may have to either get a calculator or do your long division. And if I do my long division right here, that'd be 1, 3, that's a 12, and there's a 14. It's 3 times 4 is 12. So it's 14 and 3 is actually what? It's the magic number I'm looking for. 14 and 3. 14 times 3 is 42. 14 plus 3 is 17. Hopefully you guys can see how that works. All right? So there are my 3 examples. Okay, remember, what two numbers multiply together make the top, and when you add them, make the bottom. You try these next 3 on your own, please. All right. Woo. Allergy season is killing me. My values: 1, 11, 24. All right, this is going to be 1, 10, and 9. And this is going to be 1, 15, and 44. Okay, it's important you guys identify these. It makes this exercise a lot easier if you do, all right? 8 times c, so it's just 24 times 1, so it's 24. And 11, this one here is going to be 9 and 10. And then this one here is going to be 15 and 44. All right, now you want to do your work. What two numbers multiply together make 24? And then when you add them, make 11, all right? So that'd be 2 and 12. That would be 2 plus 12 is 14. 3 and 8. So I say that hesitantly like that because 8 and 3, they multiply them together, make 24. 8 plus 3 is 11. So that would be it. So this is D plus 8. And then D plus 3. All right, move on to the next. Okay, what two numbers? This one's relatively easy. It is 9 and 1. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So whenever you see a situation like that, ladies and gentlemen, please be aware of what you're going to run into. All right, double check your math if you want. And then the last one here is 44. What two numbers multiply to make 44? It'd be like 2 and 22 or 4 and 11. All right, so this would be H plus 11 and then H plus 4. And that's it, okay? It's a shortcut. It's kind of an easier way to do it. Now, it's easy when it's all pluses. Now let's talk about when B is negative and C is positive. Okay, so in order to make the last number positive in this situation, what do you have to do? We know we have a negative, but in order to get a positive here, that means, remember when we were doing the Punnett square, all right, so when we're doing the Punnett square set up like this, and you have a negative, you're multiplying two numbers down here. And if one's negative, and you want this to be a positive number, the only way that's going to be positive is this number has to be negative. So we're now adding together two negative numbers, okay? So remember, it's going to be two negatives now that we're looking for. So same setup. All right, ABC, wants you to do 1, negative 12, and 27. ABC, 1, negative 8, and 12. And then ABC, is 1, negative 17, and 72. All right, now we're going to do it out with our x method, right? So we're going to try to figure this out. Now, some of you in here, this is going to challenge you ever so slightly, but it shouldn't be that difficult at this point yet. All right, so we know our c value is, on the top here, is going to be 1 times 27. All right, this will be the last time I want you guys to write the a. Going forward, we'll just know that a is 1, and we're just going to focus on b and c. So it's 27, right? And then you do your other setup here of negative 12. Okay, this number here is 12 and negative 8, and this number here is 72 and negative 17. All right, what two numbers multiply to make 27? When you add them, they make 12. Well, there's only one real number, and that would actually be, let me change a different color here. Let's go a slight purple. That would be negative 9 and negative 3. So, negative 9 times negative 3 is a positive 27. And when you add these two together, it's a negative 12. Now, here's where the problem it's going to run into. If you're still struggling with adding negatives, okay? Some of you in here are. Make sure you know you went to the store, you spent 9, you spent 3. How much have you spent? You spent 12. Okay, understand your math, please. All right, so this is x minus 9, x minus 3, because we're just dropping these straight down in there. All right, same here. What two numbers multiply to make 12? Again, it's 1 and 12, 2 and 6. 6 plus 2 is negative 8. So I got x minus 6, and then x minus 2. And then the last one here is what two numbers make 72? And that would be the infamous 9 times 8. Y minus 9 and y minus 8. Sweet, and we're done, right? So that's it. Hopefully you guys understand. Adding these together, negative 9, negative 8 makes negative 17. Multiplied makes 72. Your turn. All right, moving along kind of quickly here again. 1, negative 22 and 21. This is going to be 1, negative 11 and 28. 1, negative 22 and 40. All right, what two numbers? So when you have your setup, it's going to be simple enough where this is 21 and negative 22. This would be 28 and negative 11, and this one would be 40 and negative 22. All right, what two numbers? So as you go through this process, once again, everybody, make sure you're fully aware of your what you're doing. Okay, what two numbers? This one's a relatively simple one. It's negative 21 and negative 1. Multiply them, you get that. You add them, you get this. So it's m minus 21, and then m minus 1. Multiply it out if you have to. Okay. You guys will understand the consequences of what your numbers will be when you get it right. Okay. And then what two numbers here? So let me see here. We've done this already. I think it was 28 would be 7. Actually, this time it would be 7 and 4, right? So because it's not 9 and 3, so well, that's 36 anyway. So 28 would be negative 7 and negative 4. Hopefully you guys know your times tables. All right, if you don't know your times tables, this makes it harder. I'm debating whether or not I actually print out a large table for you guys. It'd be like 12 by 12. So 12 across by 12 down. I'd like to do a times test for some of you to make sure you guys can do this as well. All right, for the number 40, what do we got here? We got 1 and 40, 2 and 20. Pretty simple. Whoops. It's going to be negative 20 and negative 2, right? So the times these together, you get 40. Add them together, you would get negative 22, right? So on here, this would be x. Board's going crazy again. X minus 20, and then x minus 2, just like that. Okay. Hopefully you guys understand this process. All right, now we're going to jump into just making sure when c is negative. Okay, so it's a different setup. So now we're going to focus on these last 12. So I'm doing 3, you do 3, I'll do 3 more, and you do 3, where the last value is negative. So if we know from the Punnett square, if this value right here is negative, that means this value has to be negative and this one has to be positive, or vice versa. Okay, well, we're looking for a positive and a negative number. So now what we got to focus on is make sure you guys are subtracting the numbers or putting them together. Okay, some of you guys really struggle with this concept, And I'm not sure how to really teach it to you other than the fact of you all have a different understanding. We're basically putting together a positive number and a negative number. Okay, so we're going to have a positive and a negative number. Some of you in here get very confused when you're trying to put those two numbers together. Okay, so what we're doing is if we're focusing on a positive here, then we're going to be subtracting two numbers, right? One is going to have to be larger, and the larger one's going to have to be positive, right? So my b value is 3, and this is negative 18, 10, negative 56, and 8 and negative 48. So here's where it's going to get tricky because some of you really don't know your times tables, and you're going to have to know that what two numbers multiplied together make negative 18, but when you subtract them from each other, make a positive 3. Multiply, make a negative 56. When you subtract them or put the negative and the positive together, make a 10. Negative 48, and when you subtract them, they make an 8. All right, so you're looking at two different numbers. And I do want you to write this in a specific way, just for your brains to process what we're about to do, okay? Just so you guys understand, we're going to put the positive here and the negative on this side, so you guys know it to be something minus this, okay? Something minus this, something minus this. And that way you guys will get in the habit of understanding this process, okay? You just have to know that when you see negative at the end, in front of the C value, that this is one of these numbers has to be positive and the other one has to be negative. That's the key, okay? All right, so what two numbers multiply together to make negative 18? All right, so now you guys got to think of your times tables again. All right, so it's going to be, we got 1 and 18, we got 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and I think we have a winner, right? So if I were to put 6 and 3, 6 minus 3 equals what? 3. So there's my answer, right? So it's x plus 6 and x minus 3. So you just drop them straight down. You may have to do work on the side like this just to make sure you guys get the process, okay? Same at 56. All right, what two numbers? So I got 1. I'm not doing 1 because that's ridiculous. That'd be 55. All right, we got 2 and, oh boy. Let me get a calculator because just like you guys, sometimes I do struggle with some of the bigger numbers. All right, 56. I know it's not this one. That would be 28. Does 3 go in 56? Nope. 56 divided by 4. All right, so I've got 4 goes in, and the answer is 14. 14 minus 4 is what? 10. So there are my values, okay? You may have to use troubleshooting. You may have to use a calculator. Hopefully you guys understand the thought process I just had in my head, okay? You go 1, 2, 3, 4 until you guys get an answer or something that will justify what you're trying to do, okay? So this is the same way. What two numbers multiply? Let me see here. I'm trying to think if off the top of my head if I know this, but I don't think I do. It might be 48, so I know it's 48 divided by 2 is 24. So I got 2 and 24, and that's not it. 3 I don't think goes into 48. Oh, it does. Wow, look at that. All right, 3 and 16. Nope, if I subtract that, that's 8. 48 divided by 4 is 12. So it'd be 4 and 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. All right, so hopefully you guys can see when I talk you through the process of how you can solve these, okay? What two numbers subtract? This is only when the C value is negative, okay? Now, this is where the greater number is going to be the positive number, 14 minus 4. Make sure you guys do that on your own. All right, hopefully you guys paused up this video here to a negative 15. This would be 13, negative 48. And this one here would be 4 and negative 21. Then you put your answers in here like this, negative 48 and 13. Once again, you're shooting for a number that is bigger than the rest, okay? So when you subtract them, you're gonna get a positive and a negative number, and then make sure you guys have the setup, okay? So what two numbers multiply to go in there? Well, actually, to go into 15, it's gonna be 5 and 3. 5 minus 3 is 2, so it's x plus 5. Hopefully you guys got the easy one. All right, 13. All right, 48 divided by 2 is 24, so it's 2 and 24, that's not it. All right, 48 divided by 3, remember that's an answer, so it would be 3 and 16, And there we go. So it's going to be 16 minus 3. So this would be y plus 16, y minus 3. And double check your work. Like I said, do the Punnett square. Multiply it back out. See if you guys can get that answer. And then what two numbers multiply to make 21? And when you subtract them, I know that would be 7 and 3. So it would be n plus 7, n minus 3. Pretty simple, right? Hopefully you guys know your times tables. When you get into Alex and the homework, you're going to be dealing a lot exclusively with this. Please make sure you guys can solve these out. All right, last ones. Negative and a negative. Okay, so now what these are going to entail. All right, B and C. This is going to be B and C. And last would be B and C. So what do these entail? This is going to entail now a negative number on both sides. Okay, so but now the larger number is going to be negative. Right? It's still going to be a negative C, negative 1 and negative 20. It's still going to be a C, but what you're going to have to understand now is your values here. Okay, I don't care how you set this up, ladies and gentlemen. Just know that one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So if you want to figure out whatever's best for you in terms of making sure you guys understand if you put a negative on this side, what that implies. Okay, so, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, what two numbers when you multiply together make negative 20, and when you add them make negative 1. What two numbers when you multiply them together make negative 24 and negative 2, and then this would be negative 108 and negative 3. All right, so this first one here, when you multiply, okay, we know we got 2 and 10. 3 doesn't go in. We know we got 4 and 5. Okay, so what you guys need to understand now, though, is what number goes here. It would be 4. 4 minus 5 equals what? Negative 1. Hopefully you guys see that and understand that philosophy and process. And if you don't, bear with me, and I'll show you another example in a second, right? So x minus 5. Okay, do the next one here. What two numbers multiply together? So we got 2 and 12, make 24. What else we got? 3, this is 3 and 8, 4 and 6. There we go, 4 and 6, right? So, but it's negative, so that means this has to be 4 minus 6 equals what? Negative 2. All right, so we know we got r plus 4 and r minus 6. Hopefully you guys are understanding this topic of conversation and seeing how we're doing this, right? Multiply, add. 4 minus 6 equals. So you're going like this. All right, that last one here. I do not know 108 off the top of my head, any type of material with this. So I'm going to start with a bigger number, 4. All right, 108 divided by 4 is 27. So I know I got 4 and 27. So I'm trying to get down to 3, so I got to get something that's really close. So let's try 108 and 6. All right, that'd be 18. So 6 and 18, close, but not even close enough. Let's try 108 and 9. All right, so 108 and 9, so it'd be 9 and 12. So 9 times 12 is 108. 12 and 9, 12, 9 minus 12 would be a negative 3. Hopefully you guys saw the process, okay? Write stuff down if you have to. Last one for you guys. All right, b value is negative 10. This is negative 24. This is negative 24 and negative 10. All right, this would be b is negative 1, negative 42. And this is going to be negative 42 and negative 1. And then last would be negative 7 and negative 18. This would be negative 18 and negative 7. All right, what two numbers? So what two numbers when you add these together or when you subtract them would make, when you multiply make 24, but when you subtract them make 10. And ladies and gentlemen, that would be 2 minus 12. 2 minus, 2 and a negative 12 multiplied together makes negative 24. Add them together equals negative 10. So it's going to be x plus 2 and x minus 12. Use your multiplication tables if you don't know these things. This is going to be 6 minus 7. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. You multiply them together, you would get, all right, 42. So this is going to be m plus 6 and then m minus 7. And then the last one here, what two numbers? That would be 9 and 2. or 1 and 18. We know it's not that. 9 and 2 is it. So it'll be 2 minus 9. So 2 minus 9 is negative 7. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. And so you guys know your setup here is going to be t plus 2 and t minus 9. I'm pretty sure that's it. And yes, it is. So please make sure as we go through this process in class and with Alex homework that you guys understand. We're looking for what two numbers multiply always to get the answers on top. And when you add them together, they get the answer on the bottom. Understand how this is set up because it's very important as we move forward. That with the value of 1 in front of it makes it really simple to solve. When we change that to a number like 2, 3, 4, and 5, it complicates things a little bit. Make sure you guys study up. If you have any questions, come see me or your teacher in class. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys later.